heard the Lord say to me, I didn't just give you this business to be a blessing to you, but so that you could be a blessing to other people.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. My name is Nancy Moore, and I am the host of this weekly podcast that provides career and creative inspiration to help you build a passionate and purpose-filled life. You'll hear from guests that will help you tap into your creative potential, pursue a career with passion, and build on your biggest and best resource, yourself. I'm excited to have you join this conversation. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get started. In this episode, you'll hear from Sallie Dale, founder of The Urban Acres. Sallie is a mother of 3, actually soon to be 4, and has always enjoyed exploring her creativity. In fact, she remembers sitting at the art table in elementary school, and when her classmates rotated to the other tables, she remembers staying to continue her art project. Her creative talent continued to flourish, and years later, after she and her husband Andrew were married, she entered a contest for Mrs. Meyer's Homemaker of the Year and won, in large part because of her imaginative and innovative projects. She's been blogging about her DIY creations since 2014. Now, Sallie is inspiring a new generation of creators by bringing an old school craft known as punch needle embroidery up to date. If you're wondering what punch needle art is, it's a simpler form of embroidery and uses large needle-like tools to punch loops of yarn into fabric stretched on a hoop. Sallie artfully creates signature punch needle patterns, and they are available in her curated kits, making it easy to have everything you need to start or continue this hobby. Punch needle is an engaging activity for adults as well as kids. Her kids, actually her daughter Dot, even participates in punch needle because it benefits fine motor skills and lessens screen time. Sallie is encouraging people to reconnect to their creative side, and you will hear from her and her passion for creating during this visit. But she has really grown the Urban Acres into what it is today. And so she'll talk about how she has even transitioned from just being a blogger to having a full-on business in punch needling. So I am excited to have you hear from Sallie. But before we do, just a quick word about my upcoming event. Okay, the Conversations with Passion and Purpose live podcast event is only a few weeks away. The next one is Friday, November 8th, and there are still a few tickets left. My guest will be Carissa Miller, founder and CEO of Carissa Miller Design Co. In only 8 years, Carissa has successfully created and scaled a multi-million-dollar interior design business using the power of social media. Although she doesn't have any formal training in this area, that didn't stop her. To give you an idea of her talent, she has been nominated for HGTV's Designer of the Year 3 times, and her work has been featured in national publications. If you have a dream in your heart and want to take action, this event is for you. She will share the details of building her business and encourage women to push through the fear and do it scared. You can purchase tickets directly through my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com. If you're in the Tulsa area, I would love to see you there. Yay! Okay, Sallie Dale, I am really happy to be talking with you today. This is the second interview I've done with you.
Yes.
I think a lot has happened between then and now. So welcome.
I'm so excited to be here, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. So you are just such an amazing person, such a light. I met you because of this really cool contest that you won. It was Mrs. Meyer's
Homemaker Hunt. Yes.
Okay.
Mrs. Meyer's Homemaker Hunt way back in 2016.
Okay.
was when I won that.
Okay. So maybe tell us just a little bit about that, because I feel like that was life-changing for you in itself and created some opportunities that have kind of propelled you forward in what you're even doing now.
Yes. So Mrs. Meyer's, and for those of you who are not so sure, it is the soap. I am talking about the soap company.
Do you still use that all the time?
Do you know I don't?
That's so funny.
I probably should, but I get some stuff in bulk at Costco.
Yes, I get it.
I've been wooed into bulk wholesale pricing. But anyway, they had it was called a Homemaker hunt, and essentially they were looking for a brand ambassador to work with them for a year. The winner was going to get a trip to New York to do a photo shoot, and then the big prize was $75,000. So not a small thing. And so my friend sent it to me on Instagram, and she was entering. And so I filmed 2 videos. I did felt flowers, and then I filmed my chicken coop that my husband had built. I had designed based off of a design I found on Pinterest, and he'd built it and had a big vegetable garden on the top, and then on the bottom was where the chickens lived. So I filmed that video, submitted it, and right around Christmas in 2015 found out that I was a semifinalist, and I had to make another video, and it was a lot of making videos. And then I think it was in February, there was a judged portion, and then there was a voter participation so people could vote for me. And so we launched our campaign and had everyone we knew voting for us and voting for me, and I ended up winning, which was wild. And so I got to go to New York. I did some filming for them. I went to Chicago. I went to Atlanta. I did a couple things for them. And of course, won $75,000. It was a wild time. It was amazing.
That is really cool. So you're talking about all the felt flowers, which you helped me with a workshop a while back with the felt flowers. I've gone and attended a wreath making workshop. You have always just been so creative. Or I shouldn't say, have you always been so creative? Maybe that's what I should say.
Yes. And I remember my mom was just telling me the other day, reminding me, in my closet, in my childhood bedroom, I had drawn with crayons all over my shelves. I remember always having little bins of paper and stickers and making yarn and just always making stuff, always. In first grade, when you do stations, like, there's craft station and kitchen station, and you're supposed to rotate. Well, I wouldn't. I would just stay in the craft station. That was where I wanted to be. And my mom is an artist. She does cross stitch, amazing cross stitch. She sewed, and she really nurtured that in me. We did stuff together. She would find things that she liked in, Martha Stewart magazine, and we would figure out how to make them, and all of that before Pinterest was a thing. We'd go to Hobby Lobby and get things that we thought were interesting. And so I grew up really with that being nurtured in me, and my mom was so wonderful that she gave me the tools and the time and let me get messy, and also taught me how to clean it up, but let me make messes and cut up her fabric stash, and really nurtured that in me.
Okay, I'm glad we're going to get to what you're doing, because I can see you doing that through social media with your kids, and you have that instilled in you, so I can see that. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I'd love to talk about the Urban Acres, how that started, because now it's just exploded.
Yes. So the Urban Acres is my website now, but it looked very different when it started in 2014. So Andrew and I were newlyweds. We had no money, and I wanted to decorate our house, but we had no money to decorate our house. So I started a blog, and it started when we got backyard chickens. I went to a local nursery in town. It's actually not there anymore, Stringer's Nursery, but they had this, it's called a silky chicken, and they're the ones that they're white, and they're little like puff. They look like cotton balls. They're just white and fluffy, and they're so cute. I didn't grow up on a farm, so I didn't know that chickens could look like that. In my mind, it was like chickens are white with, a red comb. And it was so cute. And it just got me thinking about, oh my gosh, well, I want to have chickens. And so I begged my husband to let us have chickens. I did research the benefits. And I remember him telling me, Sally, we are never going to have backyard chickens. And I remember telling him, I'm not going to say that because I don't believe it. And eventually I did wear him down, and that man has built so many chicken coops for me, bless him. But we had backyard chickens. And so I remember thinking, well, this would be a fun concept for a blog just to talk about what I'm doing. I live in the middle of town, but I have chickens. And so I was thinking about what would this thing be called. And I was taking a shower one day and just the name The Urban Acres hit me because we're in the city. So it's urban, but I also have chickens. So acres, kind of an homage to the farm vibe. And so I started the blog, and my first posts were about our chickens and about making pies. And I did a couple DIYs, like a macrame table runner and vases. And I took it seriously. I had a content calendar and shared different things that I was doing and recipes that I was making. And I don't know that it had a huge following, but it was really fun. I loved working on it. It was so much fun to me to make the stuff and take the pictures. And so that is where the Urban Acres started. It's not at all what it is now. It's completely different, but that is the origin story of how that name came to be.
That's really cool because as it's grown, it's kind of morphed into, you still have that creative spin. And I love that you've kept the name, but it's really gone more into punch needle.
Yes.
So let's talk about that because you, from what I'm seeing, and I'm going to have to get a kit and start with the starter kit. But you create the designs. Mm-hmm. And see, this is showing your creative background to me, but you create the designs and you even get the yarn, you put the kits together. So tell me a little more about that.
So
how that started.
Yeah, I discovered punch needle, or I should say rediscovered punch needle in 2018. I did it with my mom. I realized after I saw it later in life, I was like, oh, that's what I did with my mom, with embroidery floss and a really small little tool, very small. And I made a little, well, I don't think I actually finished it, but I intended to make a little picture for my aunt. And when I was a teenager, I learned to knit, loved knitting, loved yarn. That has had my heart for a long time. So I saw on Instagram punch needle with yarn, and I just never dawned on me that was a thing. I didn't know. And as soon as I saw it, it was one of those things I thought, I have to have that. I want to do that. That's going to be the thing that I want to do. So we were on vacation. I took an advance on my birthday, Valentine's Day, Christmas, anniversary, all of the presents, because the supplies are to get started. I wanted the premium supplies. So I asked Andrew, I was like, can I spend basically any gift you're going to give me for the rest of this year? Can I spend right now on this punch needle supplies? So I bought a full set of needles and a gripper frame and some fabric. And then I already had yarn. And I started punching. And the first thing I punched was not very good. But I really enjoyed it. And I figured other people would too. So there were kits on the market, sort of, like Etsy, a few. They weren't very good, though. They weren't designs that I really liked. And so I just took it upon myself to create my own designs. And I started really small. I bought the components for 10 kits and sold those. And then, bought components for 10 more and sold those. And then eventually went to 25 and then maybe 100. And now we're selling hundreds of kits each month. And it's not me who packs all of them anymore. I've got stay-at-home moms who wind the yarn here in Tulsa. And then I have a shipping manager who puts it all together. And so it's more a team now. And it's grown way bigger than I thought it would. And it's really wonderful to introduce people to potentially a craft that could be something they do for a long time and introduce their kids to and be part of their story.
See, and I love that you're sharing that your creative side, but sharing that love of punch needling with others because it's contagious.
Yes.
So I attended that. Was it Knit at Night?
Knit at Night.
So Knit at Night, and I met the loveliest ladies, and we watched You've Got Mail, which was so fun. I hadn't seen that in years, and the lights were not fully down; they were just kind of dimmed. And I worked on a project, and surrounded by other women working on projects, and it was just such a fun community, like such a fun break from things, just to encourage that creativity and have, come together. I loved it.
Yes. And I think you have to be intentional with your creative time because it's one of the first things to get, on the chopping block when you get busy.
Yeah, you're right.
Is to go, I don't have time for that. This is more important. And so then you step back and you think, I haven't done anything creative in a really long time. You have to be really intentional. And it's interesting because historically, handicrafts are things that women have always done. Mm-hmm. They've sewn or made rugs or knit, and for it was creative, but it also had a purpose. It served some purpose in your family. You're knitting socks for your children. You're making dresses for your daughters, things like that. And now with the way things are, things that you need, you don't have to make them anymore. You just go to the store. So I think a lot of people have lost that creative bent and that creative side because it's not useful. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's a luxury to get to be creative instead of a necessity. And so that's really what I want to help bring people back to. Let's get creative. Let's take time away from social media, away from your computer, and do something that is relaxing and reduces stress and anxiety. You can you can sit next to someone. You don't even have to have a conversation, but you sit next to them and you're together and you're doing something, and it's really wonderful.
Yeah, I can tell that you enjoy bringing this community together. Yeah, I love that. So you also mentioned about people unplugging from social media, but also kids. I feel like that's something that maybe, I don't want to make a huge generalization, but it is easy to put a screen in front of a child on a road trip. And I happened to notice that you had your daughter doing a little project on a road trip.
Yes. So Dot is almost 5. And I've had my punch needle stuff set up in our sunroom her whole life. And so I have videos of her when she's really little going, look, Mom, I'm doing punch needle. And she is, not doing it totally correct, but she's over there with me punching. And so as she's gotten older, she has become more interested in doing projects. And so she did her very first beginner kit, and I showed her how to do it. And I had her trace the design and showed her how to do it. And she just sat there, I'm not kidding, for about an hour and a half, quiet, and just worked on her punch needle project. And she got almost to the end and said, okay, I'm done. And she came back and finished it later. But I was so impressed with her. And I just think kids are capable of a lot more than we think they are. It just takes a little bit of time for us to explain something to them, to show them, and then give them the opportunity to do it. And she gets to use little tiny snippers. I think that's her favorite part, are the little tiny snippers. But she loves it. And I know in a few years, she'll be able to make a lot more. And I think she'll want to. She really enjoys doing stuff together.
Yeah. Okay. I love that because it's passed along. I feel like your mom, sat with you and you guys had that time together and again, now you're passing it along to Dot.
Yes.
And getting to do that.
Yeah. And it's very fun to see her creativity flourish. And I don't know if punch needle will be her medium or if she'll choose something else, but I'd like to think that when she looks back on her childhood, she'll remember the things that we did and made together, that will be really special to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I'm sure she will. Yes. So you are, in my eyes, a creative entrepreneur. So you have built the Urban Acres, and it, like you mentioned, it didn't start out the way that it is currently.
Yes.
And it has just exploded with followers. And, you're the people now who are interested in punch needling. And so I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that, because you're creative at heart. And I'm just wondering how you're also now a businesswoman. I mean, you're a mother, there's a lot of things. And I don't know if that necessarily, if you realized you would have that much momentum, because this is like such a business. I mean, the social media aside from punch needle. So I want you to kind of talk a little bit about how that transition's been and more about that.
When I started, my goal was to pay for our groceries. So I started in 2019 was when the Urban Acres with punch needle really took off. And I found out I was pregnant with Dot. I was teaching high school art. It was the only time I taught the high school art was 1 year. Found out I was pregnant halfway through. And I immediately knew, like, I'm not going to come back and teach next year. I'm going to stay home with my baby. And that was a non-question. I knew that was what I was going to do. And so I would be saying goodbye to my teaching salary, which isn't huge, but it's something. And so I thought, well, what would it take? How many kits would I have to sell to replace that income? And so I spent that summer pregnant with Dot. Her birthday's in October. So I spent that summer just working on my Etsy. That was where my shop was hosted then, was Etsy. And Andrew would go to work and I would be at home and just working on designing new kits, working on social media, making stuff. And it took that whole summer. And by the time she was born, actually the weekend she was born, it was really starting to pick up, so much so that I was in labor, actively having contractions and packing orders to get them out so that I could, go have the baby and not have to worry about getting all the orders out. And it was nice. It takes your mind off of contractions when you have something to do. So when she was born, it was just me, and I would work during her nap times. I would work frantically, and then I would spend time with her and we'd play, and then I'd have her in the sunroom and she could play, and then I would work. And it was like that for all of Christmas. I mean, it was insane. At that first Christmas, I think in December, we did maybe 10,000 in sales, which at the time was massive. I mean, going from a couple $100 to 10,000 in sales was absolutely huge. And so January was the same. Next year was the same. And then it just started to grow. And so my husband has been could not have done any of this without him. And one night everything was growing and it was wonderful. And I was crying I don't know why, but I was on my kitchen floor crying. And I was just like, I'm winding yarn all the time and I just want to be a mom, and all of this stuff it's taking so much time. I don't know how to keep up. And he just goes, well, you can't do it all. And I was like, but I can't pay anyone. He's like, well, you are not free. Like, you're treating yourself as though the work that you do isn't costing you anything, but that's not true. It's costing you your time, which is the most valuable thing of all. So he said that, and then I had a moment of realization. I was in my office one day and just really felt like I heard the Lord say to me, I didn't just give you this business to be a blessing to you, but so that you could be a blessing to other people. Like, it's not just supposed to start and stop with you. It's supposed to help other people. And I very quickly realized that there were so many other stay-at-home moms who want to be with their babies. They also need to make money, but they don't want to leave their kids, which is exactly what I want. And they were willing to wind yarn for me. And that is still how it works. They get yarn, they wind it, they pack it, and then they give it back to my shipping manager. And so we've got about, I think, 5 or 6 now who work seasonally. It's more. And they're at home with their kids winding yarn, and it's a blessing for them. It's a blessing for me. And it's been wonderful to be on that side of business now, where this is not just supporting my family, but to think of this is supporting a lot of other families in the Tulsa area. And that is it's so much better to me to be on that side than to be doing everything myself and maybe keeping all of the money, but spending so much time doing things that like I don't need to be the one doing that. So that's been a big lesson, is giving people the opportunity to do what they can do and let it be a blessing for them to do it.
Yeah, that is neat that you've created that opportunity
Yeah.
for some other people, because that's ideal if they're wanting to stay home and make a little money. And that's something that you can give.
Yes.
That other people can easily do, because there are other things that you are the one.
Exactly. That is exactly what I've had to learn, is I need to give other people what they can do so that I can focus on what I'm really good at, which is teaching and coming up with designs. Those are the things I love doing. I'm trying to get rid of the things like emails. I'm like, I don't need to be the one answering every single email. And I'm happy to have learned all of the various aspects of the business. So thankful. My knowledge has grown. I'm so thankful for all of that. But ultimately, I want to equip and empower other people to be able to do that so that they can operate in the gifts that they have, and benefits them, and it also benefits me. So it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so in wrapping up, I have a question, and it goes along with my theme, grow more in 2024. So I'm wondering how you are growing either personally or professionally this year.
Oh, man. Let's see. Well, on a professional level, the thing I'm turning my sights on this year, or toward the end of this year, is email marketing. That has been the stepchild of my business. I focused on other things, and I've realized like we need to get better at email marketing. So I am starting up a course this week with like a live onboarding course, so I can learn how to do that. And it's one of those things where it's interesting. You can be good at other things and then realize you're still a baby in some other fundamental things. And so it's good for me to go back and go learn something that I don't already know. And I'm excited to see how it helps the Urban Acres and other aspects of other businesses in the future. But so that's the thing that I'm starting. I feel like I'm a little late to the game, but starting somewhere. And then personally, I'll say it has been a real challenge for me. I love being home with my kids. I'm also very driven to do stuff for the Urban Acres. And so personal growth for me this year has looked like putting my computer away, even if they're occupied, for my focus to not be, let me get these kids occupied so I can work. And instead to make sure that I'm putting them first and foremost and being present with them. It's meant waking up earlier so that I can get my work done and not have to do it while they're awake. And that's really, it's challenging. So that is personally just realigning, where's my focus? And it's got to be on my family. So that has been a challenge. I was up this morning 5:40. So I'm I'm working on it.
We probably could have met at that time. I was up at 5 a.m.
I shoot for 5 a.m. Last night I was up finishing a really good book, and so it's like, we'll do 5:40. Just give myself a few extra minutes.
Give yourself a little grace.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for visiting with me today. I love following you. I think your followers can tell you're cute, quirky personality because you post so many fun things, but then I just love following along with what you're doing, and it kind of inspires me in my own creativity. And so anyway, you're just a joy.
Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter is at Passion Sharing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.